China is a huge market. Everyone knows that. And U.S. companies want to reach all those potential new customers. So what's it like to do business in China, and what does it take to do it successfully? I'm joined now by Jeff Moon. He's an international trade and government affairs consultant. And Jeff, great to have you here. You've had a lot of experience in China as well, 10 years as both a diplomat and also a private businessman in China. A lot to cover here, but I want to start by talking about the news that came out yesterday that China will protect, quote, legitimate interest in foreign businesses in China. And that's being viewed as a way to ease fears that China may target U.S. companies there. What do you make of that?
Well, I think it reflects the fact that China's interest in these negotiations is to maintain the status quo. China has a $350 billion trade surplus with the United States. It has no incentive to get into a trade war. So they want to maintain the status quo, and to do that, they want to maintain relationships with American businesses. So that makes complete sense to me. In fact, the whole trade war is a lose-lose proposition.
Right.
As we start imposing these tariffs, this is not good for either side.
And as far as investors go, at this year's two sessions, other major government meetings, China has also come out and said they want to allow international firms to compete on equal footing in China. Is that happening?
Well, the Chinese government, that is Chinese government policy. The problem for international firms in China is that the Chinese market is uniquely promising, but uniquely challenging. And it's challenging because the Chinese government is both the regulator and the customer for those businesses. There is a strong Chinese policy of favoring state-owned enterprises and national champions. And also, the third factor that's unique is that the Communist Party is in the background as the real decider of government policy. And the Communist Party wants to have more of a role in companies as well.
But let's take that one step further, because right now, while the United States and other nations are really kind of circling the wagons and touting this nationalistic view, what's that doing to the global economy? Because China has been the engine that has driven the global economy for some time, and China is saying it wants to open up while other nations are tightening.
Right. Well, I think trade benefits China, has benefited it enormously in the 30 years that I've known China. But the Chinese economy is unique. The government has a unique role in China that it doesn't have in other places. So as China says it wants to open its economy and announces openings, say, in the finance sector or in other sectors, that sounds like the sector is open, but there is a unique regulatory ecosystem that exists in China. There are central government approvals, there are ministry approvals for investment, there are ministry approvals for specific projects, sub-central government approvals, licenses that need to be obtained. So when some of these announcements come out, investors really need to look carefully at what the regulatory structure is to make sure that it's a true opening. There's a difference between a legal opening and an effective opening.
Let's talk about some of those sectors, because they're trust companies, financial leasing, as well as auto and consumer finance. Look, you point out that it could be a headache, but it seems like in the long term, it's really going to be worth it because of all the people and all the potential capital.
That's right, because as I said before, China is uniquely promising in that China, for many companies, is a large investment already. But for a number of other companies, specifically the sectors you just mentioned, China is the largest potential growth engine in the future. And so that's why the China market is worth and it's very important.
Real quickly, tell me what you see on the horizon for the future. Will China follow through and open up more, or will there be these so-called unofficial restrictions lingering?
There will be unofficial restrictions lingering. There will be continued openings. The question is the pace and whether China continues to open only after Chinese firms have a dominant position in those markets.
Great. Jeff Moon, thanks very much. 30 years experience in China. We appreciate it.
Thank you.